Hey guys, Dave Duford here, where I help agents like you in the final expense business and beyond. Today, of course, I have to do my obligatory reminder of books that I'm selling you. I've got the new book out here, Interviews with Top Producing Insurance Agents. You can find that on Amazon, along with those of you who like to sell final expense, the Old Faithful, the official guide to selling final expense insurance. Check them both out. Buy them, please. It will help you in your game. So today's title of this video is a question from an agent of mine. Actually, I thought it was a really good question, so much so I wanted to turn it into a video, and it's this: should I, as an agent, focus on carriers that give a high renewal as a #1 reason why I should write the business? So let's talk about the nature of insurance. A lot of people get involved in the insurance business because they like the idea of renewals. Renewals being the business of which commission is paid typically in the years beyond the first year that you write the business. Here's the thing about final expense that's important to understand. Final expense, first of all, in my opinion, is a first-year driven business. Most final expense doesn't stay on the books for years and years after you've written the business. Sometimes it stays on for a year, couple years, couple months, but very rarely will you see a particular circumstance to where a substantial amount of your business is going to be on the books. We're talking like 90% of it in year 5 or 10. It just doesn't happen. And the reason why that doesn't happen is why I don't recommend agents to push products that are renewal driven, because here's the other element I think is important to cover. Many of the renewal driven products that are on the market today for final expense are very renewal heavy. We're talking like 8 to 10% plus, depends on the product. But the problem with these products, and you'll see why very quickly, why I'm somewhat against using these at the behest or at a disadvantage of the client, is that you sacrifice, generally speaking, either pricing competitiveness or underwriting competitiveness. So let me give you a case story. There's one particular agent locally that pushes one particular product. I've run into him in the field many years. And the problem with this particular approach is that he will write people up that otherwise could have gotten first day full coverage from another company. Easiest example I remember seeing is one particular lady had COPD, and this company in exchange offered a 3-year waiting period product. He sold it because that was his primary carrier and got the renewals based off of that particular product at full amounts. To me, I think this is short-sighted. One of the realities I like to talk about in the final expense business is that it's very competitive. And you have to operate in such a way in this business that 3 to 6 months later, some other guy, maybe me, maybe somebody else, is going to do everything in his power to unseat you and your product that you sold them. Look, if a client is paying 10, 20 plus more dollars a month or has a waiting period policy when they can get first day full coverage, you better bet. And you sell that knowing there's better options out there, you better bet I'm going to try to replace it as long as it's a legit ethical replacement. And so will every other agent. And it doesn't take some sort of, guru or final expense to do it. It can be just some moderately good agent or okay agent that just says, hey, I noticed you got a 2-year wait here. Would you like to be fully covered? Yeah, absolutely. And so what happens to your pieces of business when you do this? When you, A, write a product, yes, it's renewal driven, but maybe a little higher priced, or B, it is renewal driven, but you're not getting them the best coverage. Well, first of all, that whole renewal stream you thought you were going to get, you've lost, in addition to probably some of that first year commission too. And 2, you're not doing your client the best service. You're serving yourself first, which to an extent I will agree with. We are in business for ourselves, and so we have to make a sale. So I'm sensitive to that mindset, but up to a point, especially when there's prior knowledge ahead of time. When you're putting your client into a product that has a 2-year wait or 3-year wait, whatever it is, when they could otherwise get first day full coverage. That, to me, is not how you should operate a final expense business. So the outcome of an approach where you focus on renewals at the behest of competitive pricing or competitive underwriting is you don't get those renewals. Those renewals, which sounded good on paper, are never actually gotten. You lose that business. You get replaced. You have more chargebacks. So now you're in a position of, oh my gosh, I have 30% of my business falling off the books. Now I owe more money. I have to come up and pay with this. You're in this debt cycle. And when you're under the crushing pressure of chargeback debt, which is the reversal of the commissions you made, advance commissions you made, you're going to find yourself probably buckling. You want to be as straight and narrow as possible. And doing this business successfully requires this mindset. So a couple of things I think. First of all, final expense, you should first find a collection, handful of, not a collection, but a handful of companies that are competitively priced and have flexible underwriting, and pay not so much attention to renewals. Generally speaking, in final expense, at top level renewals, you're looking at 5% to 8%, somewhere in between. Yeah, there's more that are higher than that, but when you write companies that are competitive, that's kind of the range you're looking at. Here's what happens in response. When you write business that is competitively priced, you keep it for a lot longer. When the next guy comes in selling final expense, that our clients will send another card in, trust me, they will, assume the worst. They're going to have a hard time unseating somebody who has been written, Trans-America Standard for a smoker rate. They'll probably not be replaced. Whereas if you wrote AIG or Gerber, which is a 2-year wait, well, now you're in trouble. You're going to get replaced if this person has any sense of what the options are. And if you do that on a large scale, you're going to be out of this business quickly. And on a greater note, I think, if you're out there writing business, not thinking about the welfare of your client, how would you feel if someone came in to your mom and she had COPD and you pushed a particular product and you knew there was better options, but you did it for personal gain, and they were on a 2-year wait or 3-year wait, and then they end up dying within that period of time where they could have been covered first day full coverage with several carriers that do that for COPD? How would you feel about that? Hopefully you would feel bad. And hopefully you would be out of the business, to be honest with you, if you were that dead set on pushing one product at the disadvantage of the client. This is why I take my stance against captive companies that are one product only companies. I totally understand the benefits of the simplification aspect of it, but there's a point where you aren't doing the best job by your client, and it's one thing to suggest that pricing doesn't matter. It's quite another when you're shortchanging them on underwriting, where they otherwise would be fully protected. And so you have to really ask yourself, what's the best I can do for my clients? Because here's the thing, guys. This is the great secret of the day here. You'll make good money. You'll make good renewals. You'll make good passive income. You'll make great first-year commissions if you'll just do what's right for the client. This is the fact of integrity. It all works itself out. You may have a few points lower on your renewals, but you know what? That's okay. You'll keep those clients longer. You'll make more longer term. And the great thing is these people will appreciate it. And if you service them, they will refer you business. In a sense, the final expense business is like the renewals, that kind of thing is really in the referrals. You'll get referrals and make great money off of people who like what you do and then suggest them to your friends and family members and then continue to sell them more insurance, which is great too. To me, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make these people a customer by giving them the best combination of price and value that I can. I'm not doing this because I'm making them a customer because I want to make a sale. I'm making it because it's the right thing to do, and the package I'm doing truly represents the best that I can do. Really, for my personal gain, too. I mean, that's the kind of thing I want people to understand is it's one thing to make a sale, but it's another thing to keep it, right? It's not what you make, it's what you keep in this business of final expense. So you have to think about this stuff up front. You have to be in a position to where you think over the long term and not to cut corners because of the enticement of, 2-figure plus renewals from years 2 through 10 on a product, because what that looks like may not actually happen the way you'd like it to. My name is Dave Duford. I hope you enjoyed this video on deciding how to run your business. I think it's an important conversation to have, a good question. Again, I'll remind you of the shameless plugs of 2 of my books. First is Interviews with Top Producing Insurance Agents. If you want perspectives from top producers, check that book out. You can go to Amazon to buy it, as well as the official guide to selling final expense insurance, best-selling final expense book. It has everything you need to get started in the business. If you have any comments, questions, please leave them below. Like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you next time. My name is Dave Duford, where I help agents like you succeed in selling insurance. Take care.